Welcome to Story Tales. Please like this video and subscribe to Story Tales. I hope you enjoy the story. Let's begin.
The gravel bit into Rowan's palms as she pushed herself upright against the wheelchair's armrest. Rain drummed against the blanket they'd thrown over her shoulders before driving away. The old backpack sat beside her wheel, soaked through already. "We can't keep doing this," her mother had said in the car, voice tight with what Rowan had mistaken for emotion. "She's too much." Her father had gripped the steering wheel tighter. The weather's supposed to get worse tonight. They'd known. They'd planned this. Rowan pulled the blanket closer and counted the pills rattling in the prescription bottle they'd left her. Enough for 3 days, maybe 4 if she stretched them. Her legs burned with the familiar ache that came before the worst pain hit. The logging road stretched empty in both directions. No houses, no cell towers, just Douglas firs pressing close and the sound of rain getting heavier. She trusted them. Even when they'd started treating her like a burden instead of a daughter. Even when they'd moved her room to the basement because the stairs are too hard for you now. Even when they'd stopped including her in family photos. The rain turned to sleet. Rowan fumbled for her phone. No signal. She'd expected that. Headlights cut through the darkness. The truck slowed, then stopped 20 feet away. The driver killed the engine, but left the headlights on. Rowan squinted against the glare, trying to make out who'd found her. The door slammed. Footsteps crunched on gravel. "Ro." Her chest tightened. "River." He dropped to one knee beside her wheelchair, rain streaming down his face. "What did they do to you?" "They left me here." The words came out steady, factual. "About an hour ago." River's jaw worked. He pulled off his jacket and wrapped it around her shoulders over the blanket. "I followed them." "You followed them." "I've been watching." He stood, water dripping from his hair. Something felt wrong. The way they've been acting. The money stuff. Dad changed the locks on the house last month. Said it was for security. But he didn't give you a key. I noticed that. And Mom kept asking about your medication schedule. Not because she cared, but because she was timing something. Money stuff. We'll talk about it later. Right now, we need to get you warm. He lifted her from the wheelchair with practiced ease. She'd forgotten how strong he was, how he used to carry her upstairs when her legs gave out completely. "The chair." "I'll get it." He settled her in the truck's passenger seat and cranked the heat. "There's a place we can go. Someone who'll help." The wheelchair folded into the truck bed with a metallic clank. River climbed behind the wheel and looked at her for a long moment. "They didn't think I'd come back," he said. "But I never left you, Ro." The words hit harder than she'd expected. She turned toward the window. "Where have you been?" "Keeping my distance. Had to." He shifted into gear. "Dad made it clear I wasn't welcome after I started asking questions." "What questions?" "About your medical bills. About why they suddenly needed a conservatorship. About why they kept telling people you were dying when your doctors never said that." Rowan stared at him. "What conservatorship?" River's knuckles went white on the steering wheel. "You don't know." "Know what?" He pulled over to the shoulder and turned to face her. "Rowan, they have legal control over you. Have had it for 2 years. They can make medical decisions, financial decisions, everything." "That's not possible. I never agreed to that." "You were sedated during the hearing. Dr. Pomeroy testified that you were mentally incompetent." The truck felt too small suddenly. Rowan's breathing quickened. "We'll talk at the cabin. You need food and sleep first." The cabin sat hidden in old-growth forest, connected to the main road by a rutted dirt track. Solar panels caught what moonlight filtered through the trees. A generator hummed somewhere behind the structure. "Whose place is this?" "Belongs to someone who owes me a favor." River killed the engine. "Person who understands what it's like when family turns on you." Inside, the cabin was sparse but clean. A wood stove crackled in the corner. River helped her onto a narrow bed and pulled blankets up to her chin. When did you eat last? Rowan tried to remember. Yesterday morning, maybe. He disappeared into the kitchen. She heard the microwave hum, water running. Her pills were wearing off, and the pain crept up her spine like fire. River returned with soup and crackers. Eat what you can. She managed half the bowl before exhaustion hit. River sat in the chair beside the bed and watched her drift. They're not coming back for me, she said. No. They planned this. Yes. Why now? River was quiet for a long time, because they thought they could get away with it. Rowan woke to sunlight streaming through the cabin's windows. The pain had settled into its usual background hum. River sat at a small table, papers spread in front of him. How long did I sleep? 14 hours. He looked up from the documents. Feel better? Some. She pushed herself upright. What's all that? Proof. He gathered the papers. About what they've been doing. The conservatorship you mentioned. River pulled his chair closer to the bed. They filed for guardianship over you when you turned 18. Claimed you were mentally incapacitated. That's not true. I know, but they had a doctor sign off on it. Dr. Pomeroy. Rowan recognized the name. He's the one who kept changing my medications. Right. The one who said you needed stronger pain management, more sedatives. To keep me quiet. To keep you compliant. River's voice hardened. They've been collecting your disability benefits for 2 years, plus donations from local businesses, plus grants from the state. How much? Over $40,000. Rowan stared at him. They told people I was dying. They told people you had 6 months to live. That was 18 months ago. The pieces clicked into place. The basement room, the isolation, the medications that made her sleep 16 hours a day, the way they'd started talking about her like she wasn't there. They were waiting for me to die naturally, she said, or for people to stop asking questions about why you were still alive. So they decided to speed things up. River nodded. That logging road's been closed for 2 years. No one goes back there except poachers. And if I died of exposure, it would look like an accident. A tragic accident. Poor disabled girl wandered off somehow. Rowan felt something cold settle in her chest. Not fear. Not sadness. Something sharper. Do you have proof of all this? Some. Not enough for criminal charges yet. Yet. River studied her face. What are you thinking? I'm thinking survival isn't enough. She met his eyes. I'm thinking they need to pay. Ro. They didn't leave me because I was dying, she said. They left me because I was no longer profitable. 3 days later, Rowan felt strong enough to leave the cabin. River drove her to town, taking back roads to avoid the main streets where their parents might see them. You sure about this? He asked as they pulled into the clinic parking lot. I need to see someone I trust. Marlo Serrano was restocking supplies in the clinic's storage room when Rowan found her. The younger woman spun around, medical supplies scattering. Rowan? Oh my God, everyone's been looking for you. Everyone. Your parents filed a missing person report. Said you wandered off during the night. Rowan's stomach tightened. What did you tell them? Nothing. I haven't seen them. Marlo's eyes narrowed. Where have you been? It's complicated. Your parents seemed really upset. Your mom was crying. She said you'd been acting strange, talking about running away. I never said that. She said you'd been refusing your medication, getting aggressive with the doctors. None of that is true. Marlo studied her face. I didn't think it sounded like you. What else did they say? That you might be confused, that your condition was affecting your judgment. Marlo's voice dropped. But you seem fine to me. I am fine. That's the problem. Marlowe glanced toward the door, then back. What kind of something? Do you remember the last time I was here? For the blood work. 2 weeks ago. Dr. Pomeroy ordered it. Did you see the results? I processed them. Marlowe's voice dropped. Why? What did they show? Your levels were normal. Better than normal, actually. I was surprised. Surprised how? Because of what Dr. Pomeroy had been telling us. About your condition getting worse. Rowan felt the familiar coldness spread through her chest. He said I was getting worse. He said you were deteriorating rapidly, that we needed to prepare for. Marlowe stopped. For what? For end-of-life care. The words hung between them. Rowan heard her own breathing, steady and calm. But the blood work didn't match that, Marlowe continued. Your inflammation markers were down. Your kidney function was stable. I mentioned it to Dr. Pomeroy, and he said the tests might be wrong. Tests don't lie. No, Marlowe said quietly. They don't. Rowan studied her friend's face. Would you be willing to help me prove that? Prove what? That I'm not dying. That I never was. 2 hours later, Rowan sat in River's truck with copies of her medical records spread across her lap. Marlowe had risked her job to get them. Look at this, she said, pointing to a report dated 6 months ago. Dr. Pomeroy's notes say I was non-responsive during the appointment. River read over her shoulder. Were you? I was sedated. They doubled my pain medication that week. She flipped to another page. But look at this. He wrote that I was unable to communicate or make decisions. That's not true. No, but it's what they needed for the conservatorship. River started the engine. We need help. Someone who understands computers. You thinking of Cass? You remember her? Your ex-girlfriend who hacked the school's grading system. She's a systems analyst now. Freelance. And she'll help us. Why? River pulled out of the parking lot. Because she hates people who abuse power. Cass Bishop lived in a converted warehouse on the edge of town. Computer equipment covered every surface. Multiple monitors glowed in the dim light. River. She opened the door without surprise. Heard you were back. Cass, this is my sister Rowan. Cass studied Rowan for a moment. The one your parents said died. They said what? About 6 months ago. Your mom posted on social media about losing you. Got a lot of sympathy. Rowan felt her hands clench. I'm obviously not dead. No. Cass stepped aside to let them in. You're obviously not. River explained the situation while Cass listened without interruption. When he finished, she was quiet for a long moment. So you want me to dig into their finances? And Dr. Pomeroy's records, Rowan said. If you can. I can. Cass turned to one of her computers. But you need to understand something. If we find what I think we're going to find, this gets bigger than just your parents. How much bigger? Medical fraud, grant fraud, possibly insurance fraud. Cass's fingers moved across the keyboard. We're talking federal charges. Good, Rowan said. Cass glanced at her. You sure you want to go down this road? They left me on a logging road to die. I'm already on this road. The investigation took 2 weeks. Cass worked 18-hour days, following digital trails through bank accounts, medical databases, and email servers. What she found was worse than River had imagined. Your parents didn't just steal your benefits, she said, pulling up a spreadsheet. They created a whole fake charity. What kind of charity? The Alder Foundation for Youth Medical Advocacy, registered as a nonprofit 18 months ago. Rowan stared at the screen. They used my name. They used your story. Look at this. Cass clicked to a web page. They've been telling people you're their inspiration, that you wanted to help other sick kids before you passed away. But I'm not dead. According to their tax filings, you died 8 months ago. The room went silent. Rowan felt something shift inside her chest, like a door slamming shut. How much money? She asked. 47,000 in donations, plus your benefits, plus state grants. Cass pulled up another screen. They've been paying themselves salaries as foundation executives, while telling people I was dead. While telling people you were an angel who wanted to help other children. Rowan's voice came out flat. Show me the rest. Cass clicked through more documents, bank transfers, forged medical records, email chains between her parents and Dr. Pomeroy. They discussed timing, Cass said. Your father wanted to wait until after the next grant payment. Your mother was worried about people asking questions. So they decided to make it look like an accident. That's what this suggests. Cass pointed to an email dated 3 weeks ago. Your dad wrote, "We can't keep this up much longer. Someone's going to notice." Rowan read the message. Her father's words, cold and practical. Her mother's response even worse. Better to end this cleanly than risk exposure. They planned my death, she said. They planned your murder, River corrected. The word hung in the air. Murder. Not abandonment. Not neglect. Murder. What do we do now? Marlowe asked. She'd been quiet through most of the presentation, her face growing paler with each revelation. We could go to the police, River said, and trust the same system that let them get guardianship over me. Rowan shook her head. No. Then what? Rowan looked at each of them. We make them confess. The plan was simple. Cass would use her access to their email accounts to bait them into admitting what they'd done, but they needed leverage first. I have a contact at the county newspaper, Cass said. Journalist who's been investigating Medicaid fraud. Will they listen? If we give them a good story. Cass pulled up a contact list. Lennox Yates broke the story about the nursing home scandal last year. What do we tell them? The truth. Anonymous tip about a family running charity fraud. Rowan considered this, but not the whole truth. Not yet. Why not? Because I want to be the one who tells it, when I'm ready. Lennox Yates met them at a coffee shop downtown. Mid-30s, tired eyes, ink stains on his fingers. You said you had information about medical fraud. Cass slid a folder across the table. The Alder Foundation. They've been collecting donations for a dead girl. Dead girl. Rowan Alder. Died 8 months ago, according to their paperwork. Cass kept her voice neutral, but they're still collecting money in her name. Lennox opened the folder. His eyebrows rose as he read. This is substantial, he said. You have proof the girl is actually dead. We have proof she's not. What do you mean? Cass looked at Rowan. Should I tell him? Tell him. She's sitting right there. Cass pointed to Rowan. Very much alive. Lennox stared. You're Rowan Alder. I am. But your parents said. My parents lied. Rowan's voice was steady. About a lot of things. Why would they do that? Money. Control. Convenience. Rowan met his eyes, and because they thought they could get away with it. Lennox pulled out a recorder. Can I? Not yet. Rowan held up a hand. First, I need you to help me with something. What? I need my parents to think someone knows what they did, but not that I'm alive yet. Why? Because I want to see what they do when they panic. The anonymous email reached Colleen Alder's inbox at 3:47 a.m. on a Tuesday. Cass had crafted it carefully, using details only someone with inside knowledge would know. That I know what you did to Rowan. I know about the money. I know about the road. You have 48 hours to confess, or I go public. Colleen's response came 6 hours later, forwarded automatically to Cass's secure server. The message was longer than expected, and more revealing that I don't know who you are, but you don't understand the situation. Rowan was sick. Really sick. We did what we had to do. She was suffering. She was dead to us long before we left her. That wasn't abandonment. It was mercy that if you think you can blackmail us, you're wrong. We have lawyers. We have connections. Stay away from our family. Cass printed the email and handed it to Rowan. Got her. Rowan read it twice. The coldness in her chest spread outward, numbing her fingers. She called it mercy, she said. She called it murder, River corrected. Same thing to her. Rowan folded the email. What about my father? He's been calling lawyers all morning. Cass showed her the call logs. 3 different firms. Good. They're scared. Scared enough to do something stupid. Let's find out. The newspaper story broke on Thursday morning. Front page, above the fold. Disposable daughter. Oregon family's charity fraud and abandonment allegations. Lennox had written it carefully, presenting the facts without sensationalism. The Alder Foundation's financials. The medical records that didn't match the death certificate. The timeline that didn't add up, but he'd held back the biggest revelation. Rowan was still anonymous, still officially dead. The story exploded across social media within hours. Local news stations picked it up. The county prosecutor's office issued a statement promising investigation. Colleen's phone rang constantly. Marshall stopped going to work. They're getting calls from donors, Cass reported. People wanting their money back. What are they saying? That it's all a misunderstanding. That their daughter really is dead. Time to prove them wrong. The television interview was scheduled for Friday evening. Local news live broadcast. Rowan spent the day preparing, practicing her answers with River and Marlowe. You don't have to do this, River said for the 10th time. Yes, I do. You could stay anonymous. Let the prosecutors handle it. No. Rowan adjusted her position in the wheelchair. I want them to see my face when they realize I'm alive. The news studio was smaller than she'd expected. Bright lights, 2 chairs, a camera operator who looked bored. The anchor, Janet Mills, was professional but curious. Are you sure you want to do this live? I'm sure. Your parents don't know you're alive. They know I was alive when they left me on that road. What they know now doesn't matter. The interview began at 6 o'clock. Rowan sat straight in her chair, looking directly into the camera. 2 weeks ago, my parents drove me to a remote logging road and left me there to die, she said. They did this after spending 2 years collecting money in my name, telling people I was dying, and eventually declaring me dead. Janet leaned forward. That's a serious allegation. It's not an allegation. It's a fact. Rowan's voice remained steady. I have medical records, financial documents, and email communications proving everything I've said. Why do you think they did this? Because I was no longer profitable. Because keeping me alive was inconvenient. Because they thought they could get away with it. What do you want to happen now? I want justice. I want them to pay for what they did. And I want other families to know that this can happen to anyone. The interview lasted 12 minutes. By the time it ended, Rowan's phone had received 47 messages. The legal war began immediately. The county prosecutor filed charges Monday morning. Fraud, embezzlement, attempted murder. The state attorney general's office opened a parallel investigation into the nonprofit violations. Dr. Pomeroy was arrested Tuesday. His medical license was suspended pending review. Colleen and Marshall hired the best defense attorney they could afford, which wasn't much after their assets were frozen. The GoFundMe campaign started by a stranger raised $30,000 in 3 days. Rowan used the money to hire her own lawyer, a former prosecutor who specialized in disability rights cases. They're going to claim you were mentally incompetent, the lawyer warned, that you couldn't make decisions for yourself. Let them try. They have medical records supporting that claim. They have forged medical records. I have proof they're forged. The lawyer smiled. Then we'll be fine. The trial lasted 3 weeks. Rowan testified on day 4, walking into the courtroom with a cane instead of using her wheelchair. She'd been practicing for months, building strength. The defense attorney was aggressive, trying to paint her as confused, vindictive, mentally unstable. Rowan answered each question with calm precision. You claim your parents abandoned you, the attorney said. But isn't it true that you had been acting erratically, making threats? No. Isn't it true that you had been refusing medical treatment? I had been refusing unnecessary sedatives. Isn't it true that you told your parents you wanted to die? No. I told them I wanted to live. The attorney held up a document. This medical report says you were non-responsive during your last appointment. That medical report is a lie. You're calling Dr. Pomeroy a liar. I'm calling Dr. Pomeroy a criminal. The jury deliberated for 6 hours. When they returned, the 4 women stood and read the verdict. On the charge of fraud in the first degree, we find the defendant Colleen Alder guilty. On the charge of attempted murder, we find the defendant Colleen Alder guilty. The same verdict for Marshall. The same verdict for Dr. Pomeroy. Rowan felt no satisfaction, no relief, just a cold sense of completion. The sentencing hearing was held 2 months later. Colleen got 12 years. Marshall got 10. Dr. Pomeroy got 8 and lost his medical license permanently. The Alder estate was liquidated to pay restitution. The family home sold at auction for less than market value. Rowan bought it anonymously and donated it to a disability legal aid organization. Extended family members reached out after the trial, offering reconciliation, explanations, excuses. Rowan ignored them all. Don't you want to forgive them? A reporter asked during one of her final interviews. Forgiveness is for people who deserve it, she replied. They don't. What about peace? Peace is for people who had justice. I got justice. 6 months later, Rowan stood in front of a modern building in Portland. The sign read, "The Road Initiative Justice for the Left Behind." Marlowe and Cass were inside, setting up offices. River was in the conference room, reviewing cases. You ready for this? River asked when she joined him. I've been ready for this my whole life. The Road Initiative specialized in cases like hers. Families who exploited disabled relatives. Medical professionals who falsified records. Systems that failed the most vulnerable. Their first client was a 17-year-old whose parents had been collecting her benefits while keeping her locked in a basement. What happened to you? The girl asked during their first meeting. My parents left me on a road to die, Rowan said. But I didn't die, and now I help other people who refuse to die. Did you ever forgive them? No, and I never will. Good, the girl said. Neither will I. Rowan smiled. It was the first time she'd smiled in months. Then let's make sure they pay for what they did to you. Outside, it started to rain, but inside the building, the lights were bright and warm.